What a lovely day. Yo, Martin! I am so hyped to get started on this episode. Can you believe it's the 5-year anniversary already?
Hey man, where are you exactly?
What do you mean? I'm right here where you said.
Okay, no, you can't be where I said to meet because I'm where I said would be Chinatown, Glasgow.
That's right, China. That's what we agreed on.
You weren't paying attention to the meetings, were you?
I'm gonna have to call you back. So, I bet you're wondering how I ended up here. Let's rewind a little. Around the year 2016, I decided to adopt language learning as a side hobby. Of course, being a cocky 20-something at the time, I ended up hopping from language to language such as French, Spanish, and even went through an Esperanto phase. But after becoming increasingly frustrated at my progress, I decided to do something completely normal. I decided to go big or go home and switch to learning Mandarin. Mandarin is a behemoth of a language with over 900 million speakers and infamous for its difficulty in learning, despite the different tones and lack of alphabet. Seriously, there's over 50,000 of these characters. It was a daunting mission, and yet somehow I was excited for the challenge. Difficulty aside, Mandarin is a gorgeous language, and because of it, I ended up meeting my partner, MsTsunami. One day as we were talking, she told me that I should really visit China during the Chinese New Year. I remember thinking at the time, what? No, of course, I couldn't, no. Anyway, in February of 2018, I made one of the craziest decisions of my life and booked a flight over. It was an incredible experience, and one that I must admit I talk about often when I think about adventure holidays. That journey changed something within me, and I felt more capable than ever. After being bitten by the travel bug, I decided to visit my friend and fellow co-host Andrew in Canada and booked a flight over in 2020. And the only thing that could stop me would be a worldwide pandemic, and yeah, you get the punchline. 2020 was a horrible year for many, and I will admit I didn't emerge unscathed either. It was bittersweet that a year of hardship was also the year that I found my voice as a podcaster. It was a refuge where I could discuss my interests in a welcoming space, all the while taking my mind off what was going on outside. But after the lockdowns were lifted and relative normality began again, I still continued to podcast and met so many wonderful people. As silly as it sounds, I also yearned for adventure that was otherwise not possible a few years ago. So to celebrate 5 years of Chatsunami, grab your passports, Pandalorians, as we catch our flight to a very special episode. Welcome to Chatsunami in China. Now, before I could even think about stepping foot in China, I had to sort out the 3 V's: visa, vaccinations, and vacation accommodation. Okay, I'm cheating with that last one, but bear with me. Also, please note, Pandalorians listening from abroad, that this is from the point of view from someone travelling from the UK, specifically Scotland. So please be aware of the rules and regulations before booking your own holidays. Trust me, saying a red panda made you do it isn't a legal argument. Believe me, I've tried. After scrolling through our handy-dandy gov.co.uk website, they led me to this website where you could register all the relevant information. I got an L visa because I'm very cool, and that of course is the one for tourists. Sadly, they don't have one for Red Panda podcasters yet, but I'm working on it, don't worry guys. Once this was done, you have to then wait until the visa centre confirms you can proceed to the next stage for your application. This means that you have to visit one of their centres dotted around the country. For me, this was Edinburgh, but you can visit their centres in Manchester or even London. When I went, it was extremely quiet, and after giving them my fingerprints, paw prints, they then advised me that it would be ready in a few days. And despite the eye-watering price of it, it does last 2 years, so if you see me in China again next year, then that's why. Vaccinations are a little more tricky. When I went back in 2018, I just popped into the local GP surgery and I was done in no time. But now you have to phone your local NHS health board, who will advise you what travel clinic is best suited for you. The people who did mine were very thorough and could not have been nicer. So if you're like me and are afraid of injections, then you have nothing to worry about. The only issue is that you have to book these at least 8 to 10 weeks in advance before you leave, so don't be like me and get lucky last minute. Finally, accommodation. While filling out your visa application, you have to of course tell them where you're going. If you're part of a package holiday or staying in the hotel, then they'll notify the police that you're there. Otherwise, if you're staying with anyone in China, then you have to report to the police. It may sound intimidating, but it was a relatively easy process. Fortunately, I had MsTsunami to help me there, but for more information, please also check the guidelines online. But after booking our flights and accommodation, day finally arrived where we made our way to Edinburgh Airport. Was I nervous about returning to China after 7 years? Absolutely. Since the lockdowns, I feel as if my adventurous spark has somewhat dwindled, and the older I get, the more I seem to share things in common with a hobbit, but I knew that with my girlfriend by my side, we would take on this new adventure together. And I'm totally not adding this part in as she sits beside me on the plane. One thing I also want to mention is that while we were in Edinburgh Airport, there were several people who seemed to have missed their flights, judging by the panicked calls over the intercom. Would Mr. and Mrs. Smith please get to the gate? Your flight leaves in 1 minute. Oh dear God, where are you? This time we decided to fly with Finnair, who I hadn't really heard of until MsTsunami mentioned them. At the risk of sounding like I'm aiming for a sponsorship here, their flights are very nice, would wholeheartedly recommend them. But it wasn't long before we found ourselves sitting on a 12-hour flight to Shanghai, which I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous. Not only had it been 7 years since I was last there, but I also didn't realise that Finnair had an exterior camera to show you the flight taking off. Yeah, that was a bit unnerving, but after watching a plethora of films, eating on-board meals, and most importantly catching some well-earned Z's, we landed in Shanghai and got our taxi to our first hotel, where past Satsunami and MsTsunami have all the details of what we got up to there. Thank you, future Satsunami, for that lovely introduction. Totally not patting myself on the back there. So we have just finished the first part of our trip, which was of course to the wonderful yet insanely expensive city of Shanghai, and I am sitting here now in our lovely hotel room with my one and only lovely partner, MsTsunami. Welcome.
Thank you. I also want to say some of you may know me because I was on the Twitch streaming with Chatsunami once, and we were playing
Overcooked, yes.
Overcooked. Thank you very much.
That's okay. I suppressed the memory myself. Because, yeah, we unfortunately set a few fires in that game. Oh, what a game that was. We really should play that again. In fact, I don't think we have played that.
Oh, no, it's too stressful. It's just too stressful.
It really strained.
I don't want to put our relationship under the risk, you know?
Yeah, cooking in real life, absolutely fine. Cooking in Overcooked, no, that's a relationship tester.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think my other co-host, especially Adam, if you're listening, you can totally agree with that. But yeah, we are on the last leg of our, at least Shanghai experience. We arrived yesterday, as of recording this, of course, and we got in relatively late, I have to say, about just before 6. You know, we got through customs, more or less. Well, I should say you got through all right. I had to wait in the foreigner line, but yeah, it was absolutely fine. And once I got through, gave them all the information needed. We finally got the taxi to our hotel and everything. And yeah, after we dropped off our cases at the hotel, which is absolutely lovely because they were very kind enough to upgrade our room to a bun view, which was fantastic. Very spacious room. You can probably hear an echo.
But we were upgraded to an ensuite room, and we even have our own study room and a lounge.
Do you know what the funniest part is? The reason that I thought it was fancy as well is as soon as we went in, there was a coffee machine.
Aye.
Yeah, one of the pod ones. It is nice though. It's a nice touch always.
Yeah, it's really nice.
After we dropped off our cases and got that very good news, we decided that we were very fresh-faced and totally not fighting off jet lag. We decided to go to the Bund, which is absolutely incredible. If you haven't been there, definitely go. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased looking out at the Bund just now.
That would be the first place you will check out if you come over here. And I mean, the best enough time for me to go to see the Bund is definitely at night because you can see different lights on the different buildings. It's just amazing. It's like a painting.
Oh, it absolutely is. Honestly, every single angle of it is very scenic. You know, you've got the Peril Tower, you've got the old French buildings as well that go across. It is just absolutely stunning. And although this time we didn't go through the cruise down the river, you can indeed do that. We did it the first time we met, which was absolutely beautiful. So
yeah, I would actually recommend the cruise because you can just sit on your seat and all the views would just pass by you and you don't have to walk. I think that's a really, really good reason to go on cruise because the Bund, it's quite long.
Yeah.
It's quite long walking. And we try to take as many photos as we can. But I just think photos couldn't justify the views we just see by our own eyes.
I mean, if you're listening to the audio-only version of this, I apologise. Please go look at the video version of this because you'll definitely see the pictures and they are beautiful. Not patting ourselves in the back there for the videos and such, but if you are watching the video one, first of all, thank you for watching. But yeah, honestly, my lovely partner is in 100% right. It doesn't show half the beauty as seeing it in person does. It is honestly an incredible sight. The one thing I will say, if you're not a fan of crowds, tough luck, because the Bund, of course, is famous worldwide. It's on all the t-shirts, on all the merchandise, that kind of thing, and it also attracts all the influencers. I want to just bring this up quickly. When we were walking down, of course, there were people streaming on Douyin, which is, of course, the Chinese equivalent of TikTok. They were doing dances, they were doing selfies, they were getting professional photos taken. It was honestly like a conga line, wasn't it, of just them. But what was funny was when we were coming back, and as we said, we got in quite late, so we decided to explore some of the main areas, like the shops and things. But around about 10 o'clock, give or take, that's when all the main lights shut off. So if you want your pictures with the bundle lit up, you have until 10 p.m. and everything shuts down, especially the shops as well. And what I found quite funny was it is a influencer's repellent, isn't it? The Bund completely emptied, like you could barely, well, not barely move because it's very wide, you can still move through it, but it was absolutely packed. You've got people dancing, you can't see it now, I'm shoulder dancing. But yeah, as soon as the lights went off, everyone just dispersed, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's a good atmosphere there. You don't have to worry about, oh, am I weird to take photos or go streaming myself?
Yes.
You don't have to worry about that at all because nobody cares.
Honestly, if anything, I feel as if Shanghai is a influencer's paradise.
Absolutely. And there's so much you can take in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a neon city at times. It's very, I wouldn't say cyberpunk, you know, that kind of futuristic. There's lots of lights that go over and the whole city is essentially just lit up. Even when we were coming in, you know, you look out the window and go, oh my God,
yeah,
Shanghai.
It's definitely a very bustling city.
Oh, yeah.
And you may have to bear with all the noises and the horns.
Oh yeah, all the tooting.
That's something you won't experience much in UK, but it's quite common in China. It's the tooting.
Yeah, because I was joking to you earlier saying that, you know, unlike the city that never sleeps, which this is, it's also the city that always beeps. If you hear tooting, then yeah, unfortunately, it's just that. But again, you get that in any busy city, to be honest. Maybe a bit more here, but not overly, you know, you're not hearing it constantly. I would say the drivers are very confident, and especially the scooters. What I will say is that is the only thing to be wary of if you're ever crossing a road. Like the cars, you know, they're big enough, you can see them, they're absolutely fine. An old eye on a scooter, less chance of getting around that. So yeah, be very careful for that.
Yeah, and also the traffic rules are different in UK and in China. And just be very careful if you go straight on the crossing. You may have to watch the cars coming from your left-hand side because they are allowed to come over. Even you see red lights there, but they are still allowed to come over.
Yeah, so if you see them edge ever closer to you, even though the light's green, just be very careful of that. Just the usual rules, look both ways, say a little prayer and then go
Yes.
across. It's just like crossing in Glasgow, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Just you have to be careful with the traffic everywhere.
Yeah, you do, but especially the scooters here.
Scooter are very common transport here. Sometimes they can be really annoying because some of them do not obey the traffic rules. But as I said, just be careful.
Because I saw a couple of sneaky ones today, and again, this was just one or two ones off, that what they decided to do instead of going through, or waiting at the pedestrian thing was, as soon as they got there and they had to wait, they just got off their scooter and then decided to walk with the rest of the pedestrians, which I'm sure is probably allowed in some way.
I actually have a really good reason for them not follow the traffic rules because, our takeaway business, not like in UK, you don't have time limit to receive your takeaway. You can wait as long as they need, but here they do have time limit to deliver every single order.
Yeah.
I don't want to make any excuses for them. Everyone should follow the rules every single time, all the time. But it's just that maybe there is some reason to push them to just be as fast as they can.
So of course that leads us on to today, which was definitely the busiest day so far.
Oh, come on, it's just the second day.
Yeah, I know, I'm being dramatic. We only did, 30,000 steps,
Aye.
Yeah, it was 30,000, wasn't it?
It's absolutely.
So I'm counting on my fingers. I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 30,000. Okay, yeah. And of course, we decided to walk to the metro and get a day pass, where we then decided not to use the metro again, did we?
Yeah, so my plan was like we may need to take the subway everywhere, but it was a really lovely day. Great temperature, lovely cloudy sunny day.
Yeah.
So we just decided to take the chance to experience the city by foot. And some streets, you just don't want to miss them. They are so lovely. So the first stop, we chose to take line 10. And so it's maybe 4-5 stops from the East Nanjing Road station. Then we got off at Zhejiang University station and we just walked out the station, then maybe turn left, walk several hundred meters, then we arrived the first stop. It's called Wukang Building. It's actually just a traditional residential building, but somehow I think the influencers contribute a lot to this site. And I think at the very beginning, it's just several people started to take pictures of that building and they posted online. Then people started to copy them and just talk more and more people come over there taking photos, then post them online. It's just become trending.
Yeah, there were hundreds of influencers. Well, not hundreds, sorry, that's a lie, because that would have blocked the whole street, but there was...
It's almost blocked the whole street.
Well, yeah, actually, that's true, because the amount of people leaning against lampposts and even the traffic lights at one point, and not really many people bothered with them, they just took their photos and moved on. Some lingered, like influencers do.
I suppose that just became the new normality.
Oh, absolutely. I honestly think if you want to live in Shanghai, either you're going to live in the place that has zero tourists, or you're going to live in the place that has every tourist known to the world.
So I think if you want to be convenient, like you stay in the city center, then you have to bear with those tourists. So it totally depends on people's needs.
I mean, no wonder, because that part of the city is absolutely beautiful.
It is very beautiful. And I think it's just like for example, tenements in Glasgow. Personally, I love them. I think they are gorgeous. I think to many people's eyes, this Wukang building is just like the tenements in Glasgow. It has character. It just attracts people so much.
Oh no, it's absolutely beautiful. And especially when you go around the corner, and this really threw me off initially, where I was looking at the way the street was laid out. It had all these beautiful trees on either side, and I kept saying to you throughout the journey down it, this looks an awful lot like Europe, kind of, with Spain and Italy and places like that. And I was really confused at first, thinking, no, it's just a coincidence, other countries obviously have trees going down the road. When we were walking down, there were a lot of buildings that were designed by Chinese architects, and apologies, I unfortunately didn't get the name of them, but they said that they were inspired by British buildings, by Spanish buildings, things like that, and they managed to put their own Chinese twist on it, which was absolutely incredible.
And I have to mention that because those old buildings are kind of like heritage buildings, so they were like the B1 building in Glasgow, so they were protected and you may not be able to change their appearance. We do notice on the signs of those buildings, it says it used to belong to a businessman from UK.
Or consulate or that kind of thing, yeah. But of course, although there's the beautiful heritage, the beautiful inspired streets and things, the one thing that really took our breath away was a particular shop that seemed to be advertising for Halloween, which was called Fluffy Mood. And the reason, of course, I bring that up is because we got some lovely ice cream from there.
Oh, yes. It's just a very cute, very, very cute ice cream. And I do think in China, because maybe the competition is so severe, if you want to sell your products, like you want to sell ice cream, but ice cream shops everywhere, how you're going to compete with other shops? So let me ask you a question. What attracted you to buy ice cream?
Well, that's the funny thing, because as of recording this episode, it's about 7-8 days before Halloween, and that's what I was saying to you. Of course, we're going to be outside of the UK. Not that we really celebrate Halloween. We're kind of one of those couples. You shut the blinds and you just put on a horror film, eat a lot of sweets or candy. But, it felt quite weird to think, we're going to be in China, which, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not very big into Halloween, unless it's themed things like in Shanghai and places like that.
I have to say, it may be popular in bigger cities.
Yeah.
They all have like different themed parties in different places. But like my hometown, it's relatively small and relatively conservative. So this kind of festival
isn't as popular, yeah.
True, that's very true. Like my dad, mom, that generation, they possibly even don't know what is Halloween.
Because that is the thing about Shanghai, it feels very international, and I can kind of see why, because there's hundreds of tourists kicking about. And again, when I was going down that street, I was really surprised to see that in the window. And obviously it's not the only one in Shanghai. There were not hundreds, but there were loads of shops catering to Halloween, just kind of more themed, either desserts or ice creams or things. And I was really surprised. Maybe it was just the time we got there, but it was really empty at the time. But we got it. It was absolutely delicious. It was like raspberry, wasn't it, kind of flavour? And
I think it said it's yogurt.
Oh, was it yogurt flavour? Oh, even healthier. Yeah, so definitely, especially check out the picture because it was so adorable, wasn't it? So after that, of course, we decided to walk through the city because it was such a lovely day. And yeah, we found the Zhejiang temple, which I have to say is absolutely beautiful. And although we didn't go inside it, we walked by, and like any good tourist, we took a couple of videos, pictures, that kind of thing. What is also good, and it's something you pointed out to me, which I never would have even thought of doing, is that if you go over to, there's like a bridge along from it that just goes above the traffic, that hundreds of people were taking pictures there, so you can go up that and then take pictures from there if you want a more eagle-eyed view, I suppose, of it. Otherwise you can kind of stand across the road.
I suppose on the bridge you can get a more clear view because it's on a very busy road, just beside a very busy road, and it's all the traffic lights, lamps, so a lot of things can just stop the beautiful view. And I think the bridge help you to get a little bit better view, just to avoid all the obstacles. It
was just absolutely incredible to see smack bang in the middle of Shanghai.
In China, actually, temples are very common, but a temple in the very city center is unusual.
Yeah, because that's what I was saying to you, that if you go to any European city, or especially in the UK, seeing a cathedral cathedral in a big city, that is kind of commonplace. You know, you walk by and go, oh, there's another cathedral, neat, you know. I mean, don't say that in front of the cathedral, you'll hurt its feelings, but yeah, at the same time, yeah, it was interesting to hear you say that, because when I first came 7 years ago, which makes me feel old, we went up a couple of temples and they are not smack bang in the middle of cities. They are up hills, they are up mountains. I'm not saying that as a regret or anything, I'm saying that as a warning to anybody going up them, because you will need a pair of comfortable shoes.
Absolutely. Yeah, the mountains, the hills are the normal or common locations for the temples.
And plus it gets your steps up as well.
You have to show you're faithful.
Whereas, yeah, we're just lazy. We say, you know what, stick it in the middle of the city, right along from the Greggs, we'll be fine. Which actually is true. If you go to St Paul's Cathedral in London, they've got a Greggs right along from it.
Very true. But the only downside about that shop is I think you better eat in, not take away, because you will not find a bin near St Paul's Cathedral.
Yeah, that's of course for security reasons, but at the same time it's a pain. And in case you're wondering, how did I go to London and find the only Greggs within a several 100-mile radius? It's because we live in the north, so of course we know where Greggs are. Unfortunately, China hasn't adopted Greggs yet, but I live in hope. But that's...
No. Oh, you know what? Maybe one day.
Greggs, get on it. No, jokes aside, speaking of bakeries, actually, that was a great segue.
Yeah, we did spot a lot of coffee shop, bakery shops.
Yeah, that was something you were saying, that with the younger generation of Shanghai, coffee seems more popular, because as we know, the traditional drink in China is of course tea, and there are hundreds of tea places as well, but coffee here especially.
It's kind of like within 100 meters you can find 100 coffee shops there. It's literally everywhere, but it's kind of hard to find a tea room. We've only saw one tea room in the Yu Garden, but we didn't go inside.
When we were walking down that same street, we found two bakeries, and this threw me off guard. And I know China loves a good themed bakery shop, whatever, but there was like a French bakery, and right beside it there was a place called, I think, Amam Bakery, which was London themed. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see the connection when I went in. I thought, I mean, they've got posters of like England up and things. They had a dog hanging out, like a statue of a dog hanging out of the, I don't even know, the sign, wasn't it? Yeah.
But I have to say the shop decorations are absolutely attractive. One thing I do think shops, no matter what shops they are, one thing they are doing great is they know how to decorate their shops and attract people. Come inside and shop there.
You know, it's marketing 101, isn't it? Mm-hmm. As long as you have a theme, as long as you have a nice place to sit and everything, you are going to attract more people. And especially in the middle of Shanghai, I doubt there's many London-themed bakeries or French-themed bakeries kicking about.
I think you will be surprised.
You know what? I think you're right, to be fair. I mean, those were the only ones I saw today, but chances are we come back and there'll be a whole street of them, maybe.
And their pastries, their cakes, their bread, they do look lovely.
Oh, they did, absolutely. It was a bit busy, so unfortunately we didn't go into that one, but instead we went to another rather well-known place, which you might know, Starbucks, which, before you raise your eyebrow through the screen and go, Satsu, MsTsunami, why did you go to a Starbucks? No. We didn't go to any Starbucks. We went to the Starbucks Reserve Roast, which, weirdly enough, and I just want to point this out before we go on, there was a huge ship model, and I mean a full ship. It was like a Louis Vuitton ship.
Yeah, so if you are a fan of luxury brands, you possibly wouldn't be unfamiliar with this brand, Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, I mean, there was Louis Vuitton, there was Rolex and that mall. Half of them were kind of shops, you know, you usually expect. Others were like high brand luxury. We have a joke, of course, that if you have to ask the price, then you shouldn't be there kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But there were certainly a lot you thought, oh, that's pricey as well. well.
Oh, that shopping center definitely is at the top.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But of course, instead we decided to judge them in the Starbucks Reserve roast, which, while sipping our coffees, of course. But that place, speaking of the Starbucks, that place is massive because, ironically enough, it's something you said earlier, the videos and the pictures can't really show you how big these places are, and there'll probably be a couple popping up now, but oh my god, there was hundreds of things. It was almost like a experience is the way I can describe it, because they had big machines at the side that they literally ground the beans and things. They had a whole shop at the bottom, they had a whole shop at the top, which I've never seen. They had bars, they served alcoholic drinks and things, which is something you wouldn't get back home, but it was just massive. I think there was even a wedding, I could be wrong, but it was like either a wedding or a birthday or something in a completely separate hall that was completely partitioned at the side. Honestly, anybody listening to this, when was the last time you went into a Starbucks and people were celebrating a big event like that, or they thought, other than obviously a mug, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to make a whole experience of this, but this place was ginormous, wasn't it?
Absolutely would blow your mind away. I think it may be the biggest one in Asia.
I would not be surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, I have to check it out, but you should Google that, and I think it may surprise you and make you want to come to Shanghai just for that.
Yeah, at the very least, go visit it and get a mug and say, I've been here.
Speaking of the mugs, we did get some lovely ones.
I'm trying not to laugh because when you said, speaking of mugs, I thought you were going to talk about the particular sign that we saw on the way. But as we were walking down, I think it was West Nanjing Road, you know, down some very lovely streets, very lovely shops, we saw a metro station, and I don't know which particular metro station this is, and if there's any Pandalorians from Shanghai, please feel free to let us know. But there was a sign that had a picture of someone who looked very posh and very British, and initially I paid no mind to it because there was a lot of Burberry adverts, but then we saw this, and it just looked like a regular guy in English country type clothes, and he was sitting beside this carton of milk or something, and he's advertising milk, and I was like, right, okay, that's a bit weird. And then you read the sign, apparently he's part of the royal family, isn't he?
Because it is written in Chinese, it basically says UK or Britain royal family member.
And of course you turned around to me and said, who is that? And I was like, I have no idea. We were going back and forth going, oh my god, and I've just got a random person from Britain to pose for this. And then we had to Google it, and we found out that the person was Peter Phillips is his name, who apparently is Princess Anne's son. I did not know that.
How surprising.
I genuinely thought they just plucked a random guy.
Yeah, I was like, oh my goodness, don't tell me this brand was fakely advertising.
Yeah, but of all the things, faking an advertisement for milk from the royal family.
I know, it's just, how could you connect a milk brand with a royal family member?
I mean, to be fair, they're never usually in Shanghai.
You know what? I think this brand must pay him a lot.
What was quite sad as well was, even though they must have paid him a lot because, you know, royal family, prestige and things, they must have really overestimated how popular he was. Because I genuinely, someone from the UK, I had no idea. I just looked and went, oh.
But I have to say, this brand, it is a big brand in China.
Oh, it must be. The advertising must have worked for that. But if they did the same in the UK, I think we would be like, who? Oh, right, that guy? Okay, is he famous for milk? Did he get a pint of milk? I don't think he's ever bought a pint of milk in his life. But yeah, maybe so. But anyway, sorry. Milk bashing aside, of course, we continued after taking a picture, of course, of that sign. We continued and we ended up down, I think it was Nanjing Road again, but it was the pedestrian road that had the hundreds of shops. And again, I got suckered into checking out the Lego shop because I'm a big man child at heart.
Of course.
And I genuinely...
I let him go. That's my mistake.
Thank you, darling. In fact, I actually said, oh no, come on, it'll just be like any other Lego shop. And that's what I said to you. I was like, oh, that's quite cool, because they had a massive Pearl Tower. And again, to mirror my darling partner's words, the pictures don't do it justice. Genuinely, you have to see it for yourself. It was fantastic. But what also lured us in was the M&M shop, which for this, of course, it had a Shanghai twist and things. We got a couple of things from there. It was pretty cool, not gonna lie.
And you forgot one thing.
Oh, do tell.
We saw a great wall of
chocolate. No, of course. It literally says, I think in one of the videos, it says the Great Wall of Chocolate, and it's like where you pick out all your M&Ms. I would say M&M flavours, but I don't think M&Ms do have flavours.
It's just different colours.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you can mix them whatever you would like.
If you love M&Ms and you're in Shanghai,
that's your paradise.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth there. Mm-hmm. After that, we went down the Nanjing Road again. So this is quite interesting. There was a Sega shop in the Nanjing Road.
No, it's not just a Sega shop. It's a Sega building, and it has 6 floors.
Well, let's back up a bit. It was Sega for the bottom of it, and weirdly enough, they had Sonic Racing Cross Worlds there, which is, of course, as of recording this, it's a new Sonic Racing game and everything, and people were trying it out. It was quite cool. But above it, it's just anime, more anime, and, oh, sorry, I forgot, anime. It was just anime merchandise through it. Is that quite common in a lot of the big cities, these types of shops?
Yeah, I think so, because younger generations are really into these anime things. Personally, I understand that, but I just don't understand why this building has 6 floors.
After we went there, we walked back again, and you'd recommended that we try the Yuan Garden streets, which we didn't get into Yuan Gardens itself, but we decided, to go down the streets, which I think we've been down before, years and years ago.
Years ago, yes. I do remember that, but it's just, it's been several years.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like fade away, the memories about that part, because although it's very pretty, but to be honest, it's similar to other places we've been to, but I'm sure we were there before. For people who would like to check Yuan Garden, please note that this garden closed at 4:30 p.m.
But I mean, there was a lot to see down there. I mean, mainly it's shops, mainly it's eating places. There was a lot of people as well asking if I needed a watch, which was very strange. And again, you get this in any big city, people trying to sell stuff. It's nothing new. But I kept looking at my wrist thinking, am my wrist that naked in Shanghai that people are saying, you know what would look great on that? A watch. You should have it.
If you ever go to Shanghai and if you meet those kind of people, do not even talk to them, just ignore them. I think that's the best way to avoid them.
Yeah, because the 2 main ones that we did see was that, and I was really surprised this was very common as well, because I don't remember seeing it years and years ago, but it was the people with these tablets on their waistbands, and they had professional looking cameras, and they were literally everywhere, both on the buns and in that historical building we were talking about earlier, just right outside there. They were offering to take people's pictures, and it's just the usual. If you ever visit a big city abroad, or even in the UK, someone comes up to you unprompted and says, I want to give you this service, give me money, don't do it. That's the general rule, as you were saying, like just ignore them, just go on, and they'll leave you alone, essentially, won't they?
I think it's a very grey area, and people would warn you, be careful, these kind of people, because you don't know if they are genuine, or they may come up with some
excuse or story,
or story, and to try to charge you more because you don't sign contract. So
they can charge whatever they want. Yeah,
exactly.
Because it does sound as if it's quite a, again, in any city, but it is quite a common scam that they say, oh, I'll only charge you for this much, and then of course, oh, because you're the foreigner or because you're the tourist in China or whatever, you must have misheard them. Again, it's just common sense, just to be wary of those kind of people. But as much as it sounds quite negative to say about that, that is a very minor thing, because generally Shanghai is incredibly safe, even walking at night and things. I've heard a lot of tourists say that, and especially a lot of people in China say, oh, Shanghai is very safe at night and things, you can walk down at any time. And initially, you might think, oh, I don't know about that. But honestly, yeah, I felt completely safe. Even when the bund was empty and we were walking back to the hotel, it was incredibly safe. There's lots of police presence there. Again, as we were saying before, it's like an Instagrammer's paradise as well, because all the Instagrammers were there as we were walking down the bund, and as a closing point to this whole summary of our time in Shanghai, it's just an absolutely incredible city. And if you get the chance, yeah, definitely go check it out.
So I would say if you would like to pay Shanghai a visit, please do your homework, because you maybe miss a lot of attractions you want to go, because it's a lot of stuff to see and you have to plan your days depending on how many days you are going to spend there. You can either Google that or just message Chatsunami for some free tips.
And I will indeed be passing it on to my manager /
which is me.
Yep, you can't see it. I'm pointing to my one and only manager because, as we know, our producer at home is working very hard in the background. But absolutely feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions about Shanghai. Of course, coming up, we will have more stories and more adventures in China for this 5-year anniversary, so stick around and we will return very soon. After visiting members of MsTsunami's family, we decided to explore further in the Zhejiang region of China. Not only did it give us some well-earned downtime, but it allowed us to plan ahead for a big trip to Beijing. And trust me, we were gonna need it. But what did we get up to? Well, without any further ado, let's find out. Before a big trip to Beijing, we decided to explore the rest of the Zhejiang region after Shanghai, which was, as you heard, absolutely fantastic. We decided to go to 2 particular places that both of us are fond of, aren't we? That, of course, being Hangzhou and Shaoxing.
Yes. For me, of course, I'm biased because Shaoxing is my hometown. I have a really, really deep bond with this city. And to be honest, in my eyes, I don't think it's a very touristy place because I don't think there is nothing special. For me, it's literally maybe because I've been there for most of my life. I think everything just too normal for me. I basically take it for granted. I'm really glad I did this trip with Chatsunami. It's definitely gave me a different view to re-see this city.
Yeah, because I genuinely didn't know about Shaoxing or anything about it. I obviously knew about Shanghai, Beijing, the big hitters, which we will be talking about, of course, later in this episode. But yeah, even Hangzhou I didn't hear about until, of course, you and I met. And 7 years ago, I got the absolutely fantastic chance to explore the city in depth, and it is an absolutely beautiful city. It is probably the Venice of China, I would say. And there's a lot of probably Chinese Pandalorians who are listening to this yelling out going, no, our region is the Venice of China. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful because, am I right in saying it is famous for a lot of the rivers that run through it and a lot of the boats that go through?
Yes, I have to say it used to be the case. A lot of boats going through the different rivers, going under different bridges, and we are famous for our rivers and bridges. But because the development of the public transport or the private cars, I don't think boat is nowadays a very common transport thing, but you still can see a lot of boats in the tourist bit.
I mean, that is true, because when we returned, of course, to, basically explore and such, I was really surprised when you told me Shaoxing had a metro system, which, can I just say, Pandalorians, that was not the case 7 years ago. I caught the bus with you, and we got a lot of DDs, some safer than others, let's just say, in terms of speed, because let's face it, a lot of DD drivers have places to be, so yeah, it was really interesting actually getting the metro.
If I don't remember it wrong, I believe the metro project started about 5 years ago during the pandemic or just after pandemic as far as I've remembered. So it was really impressive. They did that in a really short time.
No, absolutely. And it is. It's a great system to have. And if you've ever been in Glasgow, for anyone who has been there, you'll see that our metro system is so fantastic that it doesn't really have to go anywhere. You know, it's just a big circle.
Which you will never get lost.
Very true. That is very wise words. Should probably put that on a t-shirt. You'll never get lost in the Glasgow Metro. Well, I say Metro Underground, you know. I'm always surprised, see, whenever I go to another country, whether it's China, whether it was recently with my trip to Barcelona, whether it's even Germany, they have metros that actually go overground and then they go underground again. That's not the case for Glasgow, so I'm always so surprised. I feel like such a country bumpkin when I say that. I'm like, wow, a metro that goes over the ground. Oh my god. Honestly, I am so easy to impress. No, jokes aside, it is a fantastic system. And of course, we explored a lot of very interesting sites. We went to Lu Xun's place, which is a place we visited 7 years ago. I have to say, it was a lot busier this year than it was back then. And Lu Xun, correct me if I'm wrong, is a very famous Chinese author, isn't he?
He is, and I also believe he was a really big part in bringing new things to our old society, if that makes sense. So he was highly educated and he studied in Japan at that time, and he tried to bring in new breath into the old culture, old society, and try to change, all the backward things at that time. So he's a really, really important figure in Chinese history.
And if you don't know what he looks like, and if you're watching the video version of this, I'll pop up a picture of him right now. His image is quite iconic. He's got the mustache, he's got the quite short black hair, doesn't he? And his, I don't want to say chibi version, but that kind of cartoony version of him seems to be mainly in the tourist bit, of course, but it's plastered everywhere. If you want to get yellow wine with his face on it, then you can get that out the tourist area. If you want a selfie with a statue of him, and by statue I don't mean like a hyper realistic statue, I mean the kind of cutesy one, there is hundreds, because we went down, it's like a historical street, isn't it? One of those streets that whenever you see the old, and again, it's not outdated by any means, but when you think of old dramas that are set in China and things, and they go down and there's the stereotypical lanterns above you and everything, and it's quite a narrow alleyway. It's quite a popular tourist part though, isn't it?
Yes, so that area is preserved by the government, because if you ever been there, you will see everywhere else apart from that area is kind of modern, but only that area is more like 60, 70 years ago. So they keep that area on purpose, I suppose, to show people how Shaoxing was like before. History is gonna be a really important part for every city. It helps people remember a lot about the city transforming, if that makes sense. I mean, Glasgow has a lot of old parts, and you guys do a great thing to keep those old buildings and convert them into new purpose of use. So for me, I think it's very impressive when I first saw them.
Yeah, because Shaoxing is definitely a city that is, and I always remember you telling me back when we first met that, that town is very small, and then when I asked you at the time what the population was, it was about 5 million. Again, we've made this joke before, and we'll probably make the joke later on that there's small.
And there is Chinese small.
Yeah, there's always the Chinese version of something. And when you say, that's small, yeah, in comparison to some other cities, absolutely. In comparison to Scotland, yeah, no, that's massive to us, and especially to me. But all joking aside, it is such a beautiful city. And I'm not just saying that because you're sitting across from me, but yeah, it is such a scenic city, but it is something that I think you mentioned earlier there, that you wouldn't really expect many Western tourists there unless they're either on a tour bus.
Even not on a tour bus. And I think a lot of foreigners I saw before in my hometown, they are either English teachers based in my hometown, or they just came from the other parts of the world to do their business there, because we do have a huge market for textile.
Yeah, because even walking around, and this is something that I'll mention in the later parts of the episode, but there was a kind of, again, I don't want to say issue, but it's something that if there's any Westerners out there that are listening to this and they have been to China, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here, and that of course is if you go to more rural areas, and again, Shaoxing isn't rural as such, but compared to some of the other bigger cities where you would expect more Western tourists, you are going to get a lot of looks and stares. Again, it's nothing malicious, I don't feel as if I was unsafe, but the best example is probably, you know, when you watch those old Western films and it's the cowboy that goes into the random saloon and everything, and you know, he's a stranger in the town and everybody stops, even the piano player stops, and they all turn to the door as if, who are you, kind of thing. And again, there's nothing malicious, there's nobody reaching for, I don't know, like a mop ready to hit me over the head or anything. It was interesting, but if you're gonna visit there, definitely expect to get stared at, because usually it's more the older generation, and kids especially, they'll point it out. There will be some middle-aged people that will probably stare as well, but that's something I'll probably come on to in the later part of the episode. But yeah, for the most part, it's mainly Chinese tourists, I would say, that go to Shaoxing. Is that right in saying?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. As we mentioned earlier about Lu Shun, I think he is such a face, presents Shaoxing. A lot of people know this city because of him. So if you don't know anything about this person or any of his work, you possibly wouldn't know Shaoxing, to be honest. I do not expect any people from the parts outside of China reading this guy's book. So I won't be offended if you are saying, oh, Shaoxing is not well known to foreigners.
But we will be judging you. I mean, we won't be offended, but we will be judging you.
But I have to say, it's a good place if you've been in China for several times and you want to get some really authentic feeling.
No, I would definitely agree with that, because it's something that I think I said to you 7 years ago when you and I first met, we started dating, and we went from spending all that time in Shaoxing and neighbouring areas, and then we went to Shanghai. And the first time we went to Shanghai after that, I was immediately, again, not physically, but metaphorically slapped in the face when I came out of the metro, and it was just this very rotund English gentleman talking to his wife, and it was all these different Westerners and things. And I know, ironic because I'm a Westerner, but it was a lot more international feeling when we got to Shanghai, whereas in Shaoxing, you're completely right, there is a lot of tradition there and there's a lot of culture. It's absolutely fantastic though, because we went to a couple of the shopping malls there. You had the modernity of it where, you know, you had a lot of shopping centres and things, and obviously I'm not saying shopping centre equals modernity, but you know, you had some very modern areas of Shaoxing, and then beside that you had the more older areas, you know, the ones that had, as you said, had been preserved and everything. I mean, there was one place we went to which was fantastic called Donghu Scenic Garden, where we did the boat ride. I nearly fell into the water, but that's another
story.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was this man-made river, lake, loch, as it were, and you can get a boat ride, around it. And I didn't realise that there are the absolutely fantastic old Shaoxing boats that you can get on, and the person takes you around
through different caves.
Yeah, I didn't realise that he drove it with his foot until we were off it. I was like, oh my god, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's a very unique part of those boats. It's not all about its shape, it's also about how people drive it. Yeah, so it's really amazing to see. Fun fact about that place, around 300 or 400 years ago, it was a stone mine. So people mined it for its stone and to build up bridges, to build up the roads. And then after that, it was abandoned. Then an artist bought it and turned it to a very beautiful personal park or garden. But nowadays, it's just a park open to the public.
And I have to say, there were quite a few tourists there, weren't there? By tourists, of course, I mean Chinese tourists coming in, because it was quite busy. Again, not Chinese busy, but it was quite busy.
Busy enough.
Yeah, busy enough coming through, seeing the boats go up and down. We actually managed to get a seat beside, there was like a stage nearby where we got a cup of tea. We decided to watch this. Well, they said it was going to be an opera, didn't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, what was your verdict of this? Because I thought it was okay, but
my expectation was a little bit high.
Yeah.
I thought people would at least dress up for the opera and maybe sing 1 or 2 minutes for that. And they don't have to put on the full makeup. It's just sometimes I do think costumes give you more proper atmosphere about that traditional opera. Although they did a very good job, they did sing well, but without the costume, I just feel a little bit was missing.
The atmosphere for it, although they did a good job and everything, it felt like, and if anybody's seen the film Sister Act, you'll know what I mean, but at the beginning of that, where the main character is singing in this club and everything, and nobody was really paying attention bar 1 or 2 people, that's almost what it felt like, where these people were going out, they were singing, you and I had a cup of tea, and we were just enjoying it and filming it, and there was like maybe a family beside us.
But to be honest, it's just a bonus to the tickets.
Yeah, it's true.
Totally for free,
Yeah.
this show. Maybe just my expectation was a little bit high.
So yes, we wrote a very angry review. No, we didn't, for legal reasons. That's a joke, we didn't.
Oh, I possibly shouldn't say that because I didn't even pay a penny to the tickets because I'm local, so this park is open to the locals for free. So maybe I shouldn't ask too much.
I mean, I tried saying that I left my Chinese ID at home and I was from Shaoxing, but unfortunately they somehow didn't buy that, being that over 6 foot white guy from Scotland.
Oh my goodness, we are now blind.
But yeah, after that, again, we explored other places and we went to the City Plaza, which is just a big open area park place where we saw a pagoda. You know, imagine seeing that in China. And we saw this big construction of a peacock, and I have to say, we were expecting it to light up, but we returned there at night time to see it, and unfortunately, no, it doesn't light up, but the building beside it, which looks like a kind of square pyramid, that lit up, which was quite cool. I can't even remember what that was, if that was like an information centre or...
I think that building has been in different purpose of use before, but now it's just a cafe, opens to everyone. You can just maybe buy a cup of coffee, then sit there. They have books you can borrow, then just spend your whole afternoon there if you have time. But unfortunately, we didn't have that luxury of time because we were constantly on our foot just to try to cover everything. So maybe next time we can just stop there and have a cup of coffee.
And the last place that we did go to, of course, was a place that your family had recommended, which was, is it Huangjiu?
In Chinese, yes, you're right. It's Huangjiu Xiaozhen. It translated as yellow wine town. Shaoxing is actually very, very famous for its yellow wine. So I think the government tried to build up this town as a tourist attraction. And of course, one side, they can attract people to visit. And in the meantime, it's a very good advertisement for the product, yellow wine.
When we went there, it is, I thing that I think is relatively new because they're still building it. Because when we went, it was the middle of the night, so we decided to see it all lit up, and we took a couple of wrong turns and we were going down different areas being like, oh, this doesn't look like it. But eventually, you know, we found it, and it felt very Spirited Away, I have to say, at night, because it was all lit up. But there wasn't really anybody. Yeah, there wasn't really much
going on.
No, because there was nobody really there, bar one or two people. Eventually, it got a little bit busier, but even by Chinese standards, when I say a little bit busier, I mean maybe a handful.
4 or 5 people.
Yeah, which, considering where we went to in China, that was very, very odd. We're like, okay, this is quite... Again, when I say unsettling, you know, because it was the middle of the night and you're just not used to things being that quiet.
It's not even middle of night. It's about 8, half 8 o'clock at night.
Exactly. And again, it was a beautiful area, but just, again, when I say Spirited Away, it genuinely felt like that, didn't it?
So I think there are 2 reasons for that. So as we both noticed, this project was incompleted. So still some parts is under construction. And the part we went to, of course, it was completed. But because I do believe because of its location, it's actually not in the city center. It's a wee bit far away and in the outskirts part. So although they have a metro station, but I don't think people would particularly go to that place on a school night.
Yeah, you're right, because we had to get the metro out to it and everything. And the area, as you were saying, is, again, it wasn't overly rural. It wasn't like it was in the middle of nowhere, but at the same time, you could definitely tell there was still quite a bit to do for it. So it'll be interesting if we do go back to that area in a couple of years, and maybe they have built around it, you know, completed it. So that'll be interesting to see at least.
We will give you some
update.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But of course, before we decided we were going to go to Beijing to explore all the touristy haunts, we decided to hop over to Hangzhou, which again is a city that you and I have been to before. The last time we were there, we accidentally ended up in a Taoist temple. Well, I say inside, you know, we ended up on the outside of it. I think a lot of the patrons there, let's just say, I think I gave them a bit of a fright. They turned round and then they were like, oh my god, who is this guy? But we kind of just wandered about Hangzhou back then, and we didn't really do too much. We went on a boat ride as well, but this time around we decided that there were 2 things that we wanted to do, one of which being the West Lake. We wanted to ride a boat on that again, but we ended up finding a boat that I think I pointed out to you at the time. It was like this big boat in the shape of a dragon, and I was like, oh, that's really cool and everything, and I was like, oh, I wonder if we'll see that again. To which, when we were walking down the waterfront, we saw it, and you were like, oh, do you want to ride on it? And we decided to let's go on it, where they had a lot of people, again, this motif of to dress up as people from, is it the Song Dynasty or something?
I would say so, maybe not. I actually don't know, because the clothes from different dynasties, obviously they are all different, but they all kind of like similar. So sorry, I'm not an expert about all the ancient clothes, so I cannot tell you what dynasty they were from or they are from.
But yeah, they had people playing instruments. There were a couple of shows kind of inside. You know, it was quite cool. But the main thing, of course, was sailing through the West Lake, which was really damn cool. But it was quite a misty day when we went, which was a bit of a shame because we've been there when it is sunny and it is absolutely beautiful. So again, it was a bit of a shame. But one thing that I didn't realise you could do was there is a minibus thing that goes right around the lake that you can catch.
Yeah, because as you see, it's a great lake. I mean, size-wise, it's also great. After Shanghai, I feel like my limit was there. I couldn't walk anymore. So just to save for the big trip, I think we would better just jump onto that mini tourist bus.
Which decided to weave in and out the crowd of tourists, and it had like a specialised horn to let people know it was coming through. And you know what? I think we did deserve it. We definitely deserved to get a seat in that. But, you know, we jumped on, we got to see, at breakneck speeds, of course, but we got to see the lake go by, and eventually we reached the Leifeng Pagoda, which is, if anybody out there knows about Hangzhou, this is the famous pagoda of the legends, and it was really cool to climb up it, because if you go inside, it's got parts of the original pagoda at the bottom, it's got the murals that have been carved into the walls and things. You go up it, you can see all of Hangzhou from the top. It's absolutely incredible. But what was really funny to me was when we got there was a massive line. Well, actually, sorry, two things. The first was when we got to the top of the hill, there was a massive line coming out of it, and I was saying to you, oh god, I don't know if we're going to have time to do this, I'm going to have to wait in this massive line. But then we realised that that wasn't a line for the pagoda, that was a line for the lift to actually go up it. And we're like, yeah, let's take the stairs. Yeah, the stairs are surprisingly not that bad. It's not like one straight up thing. And the other thing I want to bring up as well is, if you want to climb up the stairs from the bottom of the hill to the top where the pagoda is, they actually have a escalator as well. So if you want to get to the top of the hill but you don't want to climb up all those stairs, you can go up an escalator, which again, really cool. But it was quite easy, wasn't it?
It's quite easy. I mean, if you can do St. Paul's Cathedral with all these stairs to go to the top, you can definitely do this pagoda.
Oh yeah, that was a nightmare.
Say to yourself.
Well, yeah. No, I'm talking about St. Paul's Cathedral, not the pagoda. But no, it was absolutely beautiful to see. And again, Hangzhou's one of those places where, on the one hand, you've got this beautiful, you know, cultural tradition and things. You've got all the boat tours and whatnot. You've got all the touristy streets and things that you can go down. But then when you get off the metro, you've also got the massive shopping district as well, which, again, it's quite cool to see that. But when you get off, you look round and it's like Louis Vuitton and Burberry and things like that. And you're like, no, we are just here for the boat ride today.
Oh, those shopping mall was built on the most, I suppose that's the most expensive land.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just around the lake. So of course.
Oh yeah,
they need to make money back by what? Selling luxury products, I suppose.
Oh, but I mean, there's luxury and then there's luxury. I mean, who's buying a Rolex in Hangzhou and then saying, oh yeah, I'm going to jump on the dragon boat? But honestly, Hangzhou, Shaoxing, they were both absolutely beautiful places. And yeah, that of course led us to going to the airport at Hangzhou International, where I took my very first domestic flight with Hainan Airlines. And yeah, we arrived in Beijing. So can't wait to tell you all about that in a couple of minutes.
Yay!
Thank you for listening to part 1 of Chatsunami in China. If you would like to hear how the rest of our adventure went, then you can listen to part 2 this Sunday on our website chatsunami.com, as well as all good podcast apps. But as always, stay safe, stay awesome, stay hydrated, and stay tuned in the next episode of Chatsunami in China.
From distance, the shape looks like a huge pair of trousers.
Shout out to Andrew, my fellow friend and co-host, who pointed out that it looked like a funeral for this duck.
I'm so sorry, my darling, because the English tour is too expensive.
That's the last image you think of Chongqing. This guy with his shirt off going, I need my clothes. Almost like a mini watering can almost, because it had the long...
it's a long snoot. Can you call that?
Yeah, long snoot. Let's go with that.
I'm Chinese, right? And I'm...
You're what, sorry?
I'm Chinese.
Oh my god! I mean, this is literally the city that has a giant hot spicy pepper statue in the middle of it.